Sonya Deville continues to tease something major, so we'll see what that's all about. We'll also check out what's going on with Uncle Howdy, Natalya, and more. Starting things off with what appears to be one of the final warnings from Uncle Howdy. A regularly scheduled QR code appeared during the June 3rd edition of Raw. One of the hidden messages within this QR code was a message that read, "See you tonight." And a lot of fans ran with that line, assuming that Uncle Howdy was referring to the idea of showing up in the main event segment of that edition of Raw. And maybe it was set up like that intentionally to be a bit misleading and get people to stick around until the very end of the show, just to see what happens. But Howdy was actually referring to the idea of seeing fans over on the Raw Talk after show for Monday Night Raw. And that's what ended up happening. Uncle Howdy took over Raw Talk instantly as the WWE intro glitched out and placed a lot of emphasis on Triple H saying the words, "Together forever," a few times in a row. Howdy cuts a pretty lengthy promo via this hijacked feed of Raw Talk, and he had this to say in that message, quote, "I've shown you signs and wonders, yet you do not believe. I offered you hope, freedom from the pit. You spit in my face, mock my family, question my timing. One last chance, an opportunity to repent. But my patience runs thin. This is a reckoning coming. Your belief is indifferent. It is inevitable. You will learn you are finite, and you shall all behold what we have become. A massacre is coming." End quote. Howdy appears to be directly addressing anyone, superstar or fan, that hasn't been taking his message seriously and thinking light of them. He talks about how these people are already mocking the new members of his new family and spitting in his face, and even points out people are questioning his timing, which is potentially Howdy's response to the people complaining and being impatient about when he will arrive. Howdy doesn't want to deal with those types of questions. He doesn't want anyone questioning his timing or moves at all. He has everything perfectly in place with the plan in his head, but he's mentioning how even his own patience is starting to run thin. Howdy is saying no matter how many weeks go by, what's coming is absolutely inevitable, and there's really nothing anyone can do about it. He ends it all off by saying that there's a massacre coming, which is the line he has now used in numerous teasers. The only date that has been appearing on teasers continues to be June 17th. So that's the next big possible date that we could see this long-awaited arrival of Uncle Howdy and his new family. That would be the first Raw following Clash at the Castle. Now, looking back at the original White Rabbit QR code teasers, that entire journey ended with a teaser on the Smackdown right before Extreme Rules that basically told everyone to tune in at Extreme Rules for the big reveal. WWE even did an excellent job of hyping up the White Rabbit reveal the same night of Extreme Rules, when they had dozens of people dressed in White Rabbit costumes just roaming around the arena. It was scary, it was mysterious, and added hype to the eventual Bray Wyatt reveal that ended up happening later on that same night. So you do gotta wonder if the wrap-up to the Uncle Howdy teasers could follow a similar path. Maybe the Clash at the Castle QR teaser could confirm the June 17th date, and then maybe WWE could have someone looming around the arena that night of Raw that will build up the reveal even more, similar to how the White Rabbit teasers were all around the arena before. Fans are also wondering about who exactly will Uncle Howdy come back with to feud with, because Howdy right now is talking like a big-time movie villain. He's talking like he's going to take over the world, and sounding like he's going to start with the very top spot in the company. So it'll be interesting to see if Howdy's return is as big and impactful as he himself is hyping it up to be. Considering that Uncle Howdy is returning with a faction, a lot of fans don't really expect them to do anything major outside of feuding with other factions. So, is this all about massacres and reckoning, just leading up to feuds with the LWO, DIY, the Pride, and the Final Testament? Or will it actually consist of more major feuds than just that? Hopefully some groundbreaking plans are in store for Uncle Howdy and his new family. Sonya Deville made a return to Raw a few weeks ago and has been very active and busy behind the scenes ever since. Her return journey all started when she appeared backstage a few weeks back on Raw in an attempt to speak with Zoey Stark and Shayna Baszler. But that conversation didn't really go anywhere after Shayna and Zoey didn't give Sonya much time to speak at all. Then that was followed up by Sonya going up to Natalya following her big loss and asking her if she was ready for something different. Natalya responded by quoting Owen Hart and said, "Enough is enough and it's time for a change." Sonya then tried talking to Zoey and Shayna again, but they brushed her off even harder than they did the week prior. So it's still very early to make assumptions and guesses on what exactly Sonya Deville is up to right now, but context clues appear to tell us that Sonya could potentially be trying to get a little faction together of superstars that are fed up and want better changes for themselves. And Sonya is the right selection for sure to lead that group, because she's an absolute veteran and has done it all. She's been a tag team competitor, she's been a singles competitor, she's managed rosters before as a WWE official. So this potential new leadership role of this apparent faction would require Sonya to combine all her skills and put them to good use. She's managed entire brands before, so managing a small group of superstars should be absolutely light work for the Sonya Deville character. And even everyone she's been going after lately appears to be golden picks for her group. Natalya is a no-brainer for the group because Natalya is an all-time great, a living legend, a future Hall of Fame superstar. But Natalya is going through a bit of a rough spot of big losses lately. So if anyone does need a big shock and change to get themselves back on track, Natalya fits that mold. Same thing goes for Shayna Baszler and Zoey Stark. Shayna had one of the most scariest and dominant NXT women's title reigns of all time. She appeared to be well on her way of bringing dominance to the main roster, which she did accomplish in a way, but she never won a singles title on the main roster. Zoey Stark was doing big things in 2023 as Trish Stratus's right hand, but instead of coming off of that and creating some momentum, Zoey got lost in the shuffle. So Sonya so far is trying to recruit these three very talented women that just haven't been living up to full capabilities. And it's not fully their fault. Maybe you could put some of the fault on the machine and the higher powers that be in the company. So Sonya wants to create this faction and lead these women into massive success up until the point where they just can't be denied anymore. And who knows who else Sonya Deville could try and recruit to join her. Maybe this leads up to some big returns, call-ups, and other potential surprises involving the members of the group. And considering the current shaky status of Damage Control right now, Sonya's group can step onto the scene and instantly gain control of the women's division without much pushback at all. So it'll be very interesting to see how the formation of Sonya Deville's plan continues to turn out in the coming weeks. But what are your thoughts on today's wrestling news? Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.